All right, you guys, we back again with another one. We're gonna do one to It's Complicated. Finally getting them on the channel. I love this channel. This guy asked some of the best questions ever, and I've been waiting to do a reaction to him. So let's go ahead and check it out right now.
Can you define accountability?
Taking responsibility
for your own actions.
Yes, whether you lie or tell the truth, it's all about just being honest with your partner.
Accountability to me is just taking responsibility for your own actions, making sure that you, like, when you say you're going to do something, or you say like something is important to you, that you follow up on those things.
Accountability is when I say I'm going to do something, that I'm following through. Accountability is follow through to me.
Who takes more accountability, men or women, and why?
Women.
Why?
Men try to hide shit because they feel like they're gonna scare their women away or hurt them in some way.
I've had a lot of guys tell me they're going to do something and it doesn't happen.
Now, maybe they'll get into this a little bit, but I don't think any of them actually know what the definition of accountability is. Taking responsibility for your actions is one thing. Accountability means that you accept that you have the wherewithal, that you have the self reflection. You are able to see where your mistakes are, not just in relationships, okay, in your actions, in your day-to-day, in your behavior, in your speech, in your accountability is to be able to hold, I'm gonna repeat that, to be able to hold yourself accountable for your behaviors in life. And when it comes to other people holding you accountable, like, it's understanding what that means. It's not just in a relationship. These people, the women have a tendency to always say, oh, it's lies. And when he says it's lies, that's not what being accountable is. Not at all. It's not about lying or not lying or telling the truth. That's not what being accountable is. It's not about doing what you say you're going to do, although a man's only as good as his word. And I love how that saying is for men. A man's only as good as his word. A woman, is she as good as her word, or does that matter? I don't know. Nobody ever says anything like that. There is no term that I can think of, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong, but there is no term out there that talks about a woman and her ability to tell the truth when she speaks and having honor in that. There's nothing like that, right? And so anyways, accountability means that you are able to accept the rights and the wrongs of your actions, speech, and behavior, okay? And you're able to adjust and move accordingly.
I'm gonna say,
for that matter, since we're talking about it, let me just go ahead and look up accountability for the dictionary. Bum, 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 bum. All right. A fact or condition of being accountable. Responsibility. A fact or condition of being accountable. That's funny. Accountable. A person or organization or institution required or expected to justify actions or decisions. Being responsible, i.e., parents could be held accountable for their children's actions. Explicable or understandable. The delayed introduction of characteristics names is accountable if we consider that to have a low priority. All right, so we're going to go ahead and go with the required or expected to justify actions or decisions, meaning being held responsible. So that doesn't even mean not lying. That doesn't mean that, telling the truth or this or that. No, what that means is when you do something, it doesn't even mean that you're doing the right thing, but it means that when you do something, you can back it up with your reasoning. That's what it means. And you are held responsible for that, whether it be good or bad, right? Let's keep it pushing. Remember, accountability, not just in relationships, okay?
I guess men. No, I guess women.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like women are more emotionally intelligent. Definitely understand like their emotions and things that they care about a little bit more than men.
I think men, because they have to work more, and so
That dude was raised in a single parent household, I'm sure.
like they have a lot more going on in their head, so they have a lot more they have to like take accountability for and responsibility, and they don't really argue much, at least from what I've seen.
What was the last mistake you took accountability for?
I blamed my boyfriend, and I take accountability for blaming him. So just now.
What? That's not being held accountable. You silly little person. You blamed him and it wasn't him. And now that's not being held accountable in the least bit.
When was the last time you apologized?
I'm sorry.
When was the last?
Exactly. I'm sorry. Look at her face. What do you apologize? Look at them lines right there. Apologized? What is that? Because women don't say I'm sorry. They just change the subject, right?
Time you apologized?
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I always take part in any problem, regardless. Even if someone did something to me, I always take my part of the blame. Is like I put myself in the situation, And I feel like that's the only way we learn how to grow is by taking accountability for everything. It takes two for everything.
When someone commits a crime, do you blame the criminal or do you blame society?
The criminal. You can always make your own decisions at the end of the day.
Both. It's nature and nurture. The way you were raised, your mindset, your own individual actions. I think all of that matters. I don't think they're mutually exclusive.
If they're impoverished and it led to them stealing food, then I don't blame them for their crime. I blame society because of the system that we have in capitalism.
So if a dude blows all his money on crypto, right, and then has to scam some lady at the ATM, you blame society? That don't make no sense, right? Just because he's broke don't mean that it's society's fault.
Has failed them. Whereas if they were to murder somebody, then that's a different story.
I blame society because I feel like society, in a way, they cause the criminal to be a criminal. A criminal doesn't become a criminal overnight. Something must have occurred in their life.
Man, that's not true. Look, I've done some dumb things, okay? I've done some things in my past that I am not proud of. And you know what? I have paid my dues 100% on that stuff, okay? It's a long time ago, all right? I was a kid. I didn't need nothing. I wasn't impoverished. Society wasn't holding me back. I was just dumb. I was just stupid. Made dumb decisions. Hanging out with dumb people. Didn't have the proper guidance to be like, go this way, not that way. Right? Like it is what it is. Okay. That's called being held accountable and being responsible for the decisions that you made. Yo, and I had to do some stuff to make up for it. I had a little bit of help, but man, it was a long time. It was a long time being held responsible for my behaviors and my actions, right? I keep thinking about that 31-year-old woman, man, and that 13-year-old boy. Accountability, right? It's ironic that I'm doing the thing on this now. Right?
Lives that would make them do crimes, make them want to do something.
So
this guy has had the Kool-Aid. Drank the Kool-Aid for show.
So if a guy cheats, can he blame society?
No, if a guy cheats, then he should be responsible.
So how is that different than a criminal? I mean, if someone does wrong, why are you more likely to blame?
Well, you're assuming that cheating is wrong in the first place, right? No, there's a lot of situations. Cheat, what does cheat mean? Was his wife not sleeping with them for the last 2.5 years? So, I mean, that's, you know what I mean?
Society then blame the individual.
Because for society, it takes up over time. Usually a criminal, in my opinion, it doesn't happen overnight, like I said.
Well, if a guy cheats, why can't he just blame hookup culture?
Again, we don't know what led him to cheat. That I don't like this comparison. I understand why he's making it, but guys cheat for a bunch of different reasons. One's because they're just horn dogs, right? They see something, they go for it, okay? But two, man, there could be a lot of other stuff going on at home. a lot of other stuff that makes a man go, you know what, I'm gonna throw my hands up. Like it is what it is. But at the end of the day, you have to, you know, if you're a man and you take accountability for your actions, cool. You know, you're going to sit there and say, hey, you know, I did this, it wasn't right, you know, but like there could always be this other situation. And which one's worse, right? Not sleeping with your dude for 2 years, holding sex hostage, right? All the fights, arguing, the yelling, or him going and get some box after the fact. Which one's worse? If you choose number 2, something wrong with you.
I mean, like, he could, but then, like, how long would that occur? Like, how long?
Okay, if a guy cheats, can he blame society or hookup culture?
Absolutely not. I don't even have to finish hearing the rest of that. If a guy cheats, he cannot blame society.
Can he blame you, though? If your behavior is in such a fashion, if you act in such a way that you're denying him things that he thought, I mean, look, let's be real. When a man gets into a relationship with a woman, there are some things that he is due. I'm just going to call it like that. Y'all can be mad at me, blow my stuff up if you want to, okay? But when you get in a relationship with a guy, there is a lot of things that you're due, right? He's got to do this, and this. And if he don't, you're out of there. You're gone. You're not going to look at him the same. You're going to have disrespect for him. Like if he doesn't meet your metrics. When it comes to women, y'all don't have a whole lot of metrics to meet, but giving up boxes is up there.
You've made that choice, and that's where the accountability comes in. So if you make a choice to commit to somebody, you make a choice to commit and follow through. If you're ready to step out
So what does that mean, though? What is commit and follow through? Again, if she made a choice to commit to him but hasn't given him a box in a year and a half, like, is that her not following through with her commitment? Because that's part of it. 100% is part of it. If he just stopped paying the rent after committing to it, you wouldn't, you know what I mean? You wouldn't be like, it's cool, right?
the door, you can make that choice to be respectful and to say, hey, you know what, I respect you enough and I love you enough that this isn't going to work out as a monogamous relationship. I've got to go elsewhere.
Why is it when a man...
Right, but she can't say that in the beginning. She got to drag it out for a year and a half. He got to wait however long while he's trying to fix it, try to go to this, trying to do that, he got to do all this to try, and then be like, you know what, I'm not. Why? Because we both know what's going to happen, especially if you're married, you break up, he going to lose half of his shit. You're holding it hostage at that point, right? I'm not saying this, I'm just using one example of why you can't use this guy cheating.
Man cheats, he's a cheater, but when a woman cheats, it's because she's not satisfied.
If you cheat, you're a cheater, if you're a man or a woman.
I mean, isn't a man not satisfied when he's cheating?
I mean, like, it's not black or white, but it has been statistically proven that women cheat for different reasons as opposed to men. For men, it's more like sexual gratification, and for women, it's more like emotional gratification. But both.
It's not for emotional gratification. It's because you're out of there. Like, emotional gratification is, oh, he makes me feel some kind of way. Like, well, okay, I see what she's saying. It's just, I guess when I hear the word gratification, it sounds temporary to me. But in my head, I think when a woman cheats, it's permanent. She's already checked out. It's done, right? So maybe it's emotional gratification. Sure.
Both are not true and not honest with each other, and that's really what matters. Just, I guess, like communication in general.
Is it possible to have equality without equal accountability?
Oh, no. Yeah, no.
How can men and women ever be equal if relationships have double standards?
I would say it's impossible.
That's a really tough thing because, I mean, our society is built off of, we live in a patriarchal society where men have ruled for a really long time, so it's really hard to...
Yeah, this dude has had the Kool-Aid spoon-fed to him his entire life. Patriarchal society? What patriarchy? What patriarchy are you talking about? Is it because one white dude is president and makes it the patriarchy?
Do that because double standards were created in our society by men.
Why is it when...
What? Double standards were created in society by men. What are you talking about, bro? What?
Men do wrong, it's men's fault, but when women do wrong, it's society's fault.
And so that's a double standard, and somehow that was created by men? No.
I think women just try to put the blame on other people. That's something that like I find myself working on a lot because I do see it a lot in the world.
What are women exclusively held accountable for?
Oh, I'm not exclusively held accountable for just women? I'm not sure. I can't think of anything.
Can you think of any problems in society that aren't blamed on men?
Dang. That was the longest silence ever. Just think about that. Can you think of any problems in society that aren't blamed on men? Well, hopefully we changed some of that now.
What are women exclusively held accountable for?
Nothing exclusively held accountable for. I guess keeping their shirts on.
That's a good question. I really have no answer for that.
Yeah, that wasn't. He wasn't even sure how to answer that, and they're not held accountable for keeping their shirt on. What are you talking about? Breathe the nipple. Breathe the nipple.
I think we're not really held accountable for anything, and everything gets blamed on men.
Can you
Finally somebody says it. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a man. I'm saying that because I'm genuinely stumped at this question.
think of any
I'm going to keep thinking about
problems in society that aren't blamed on men?
I mean, women can't blame men for like periods and stuff.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, they can. If they want to blame, the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, who by all depictions is a man, they can blame him.
That aren't blamed on men? I mean, I'm sure tons, but like at the end of the day, like this society was kind of founded and built by men, so I feel like they should take accountability. Like this is the society that you.
Wow. So we 30s, 40s, 20s, we should take accountability for what a very small amount of men have done over the last few hundred years. Thanks. Appreciate that.
Built.
Why would we expect men to have emotional well-being in a society that always blames men?
I don't think anybody cares about men having a good emotional well-being, and that's the
Not at all. They say that all the time, but men's problems and men's mental health are not at the forefront of anything. No money going there, no attention, no nothing. People don't care.
the main thing. Like nobody cares.
If men are blamed for building society, why are they never credited for anything good in society?
Because it's expected.
What determines which problems you blame others for versus problems you blame yourself for?
So you would blame others for situations where you were misled, and you blame yourself for something which you did on your own with no.
Yeah, I hope you would blame others for something that they directly have done to you. I mean, if you're blaming society because you can't get a job because you stole something from somebody and did, years in jail, and so you're blaming society, that doesn't make any sense in my head. Own your shit,
No influence whatsoever.
Is it fair for a woman to blame society for the consequences of her own personal choices, like having a baby or choosing a career that over-sexualizes her body?
Definitely not.
Like I'm a webcam model, and so something that I do is sexualizing my body, but I'm not ever going to blame somebody else for sexualizing me when I've put myself out there.
Why is it when women are called out on their bad behavior, they often blame society or how they were raised, but when men are called out, they're more likely to be held accountable?
Because it's an easy out for women to do that, to blame others, but at the end of the day, it's your own decisions.
Because it's too easy for women. They're effeminate. They can cry. All they do is cry, and they're like, okay, well, you guys are wrong. It doesn't matter if they're in the wrong. I seen chicks cheat, and then they'll cry, and their guys will take them back. And I'm like, she cheated on you.
I don't think that men are held accountable as often as they should.
Right. So first of all, she can't answer. Remember, this was the so she can't answer when are women held exclusively accountable for anything, right? She couldn't answer that. And then in the next question, she says that men are not held accountable for enough. So I don't understand. Are we supposed to be held accountable for everything? For everything? While 31-year-old women are getting away with having sex with 13-year-old boys. I'm just saying. That 13-year-old boy is supposed to be accountable for that situation? Make it make sense, yo.
But again, that's past experiences.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But
Yeah,
I think that
hey.
because of the whole like Me Too movement, it's so easy for women to fall back on that as an excuse. It's not necessarily that they shouldn't be held accountable for their own actions. It's more so that the media has made it really easy for them to use it as a scapegoat.
I think there's harsher punishment on women for a lot of these reasons, and also society has been built to sustain men and cisgender men, straight white men. So it's like they can be called out on certain things, but it's not as harsh punishment.
There's no such thing as a cisgender man. We're just men. Stop pushing your bullshit on us.
It's like women or like black women.
If women can blame all their shortcomings on patriarchy and internalized misogyny, does that absolve them from all personal responsibility?
No, they think it does, but it shouldn't.
It doesn't absolve them of personal responsibility because ultimately it's their responsibility to do good things for themselves. But yes, I think it's important to at least acknowledge that misogyny and patriarchy and
How'd I know he's gonna bring back men into this? Somehow, I mean, he can't even conform a solid thought, and somehow he's gonna have a question about women. He's got to bring men back into it. Like this dude
living in a patriarchal society that they are.
Patriarchy, bro. You sell bang. Okay, how is the patriarchy helping you? What are we talking about here? Look at you. You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, bro. Keep it real. You ain't the patriarchy. I ain't the patriarchy. What are you talking about? We ain't got no power. You ain't got no money. Come on, man. Keep it a stack.
At a place of disadvantage.
If you check the Forbes billionaires list, the Real Times billionaires list, it's probably 100 women and like 3,000 dudes.
Why are women more concerned with the ratio of male to...
There are a lot more dudes than there are women. That's because more dudes put themselves in these positions to be able to attain this status, okay? Like, let's talk about Bezos, right? Or Elon Musk or Bill Gates or like any of these guys, right? Like, I'm not talking smack about women. I love women, you know what I mean? But in general, women are not doing these things. There's nothing holding you back from starting the next multi-trillion-dollar company. It's 2023. A woman can do that easily if she has the ability to do it. If she has the skill set, if she has the drive, the motivation, the same things that Bezos and Musk and all these guys needed to be able to get to where they are. If you as a woman have those same things, you will also achieve that. You're not hitting a wall that says, "Oh, I'm sorry, this is the cap." Okay, you can't possibly become a trillionaire with a multi-trillion-dollar idea. You can't do it. You can hand this idea off to somebody else and we can make money, but you can't do it. That's not real. That's television. Okay? But in order to be that guy, in order to be an Elon Musk, you got to be sleeping on a shitty couch on the factory floor. You got to put all of your chips in and go bust on the last mission, on the last space shuttle in order to become that guy. You can't do that by going home right at 5 o'clock. You can't do that by catching a latte in and strolling into your cubicle at 8:30. You can't, it doesn't work like that. So you get in what you get out of it, what you put into it, period.
To female CEOs as opposed to the ratio of lower paid, dangerous, dirty jobs done mostly by men?
Because they're less willing to do those dangerous, dirty jobs and they want the CEO money.
How do you?
Yeah, let's be clear. If all the men fell off the planet right now, y'all be screwed. There'd be no plumbers, there'd be barely any electricians, nobody be paving roads. Like all this infrastructure crap would just collapse. There's a lot of women out there who love to do that stuff. They get down, they work hard with their hands. They're mechanics, they're engineers, they're doctors. You know what I mean? There's a lot of women out there that do that. But relative to the woman population as a whole, that is a very small, minute of women. And most of those women aren't going to go like, I'll give you an example. I had a pretty big business not too long ago, and we had a lot of plumbing that we had to get done. And we ended up using like 3 or 4 different plumbing companies over a period of time, right? One company would come, they'd do a bunch of work, they'd do good work or whatever, but maybe they would get backed up with other stuff and couldn't come back or whatever. So we have to hire somebody else and so on and so forth. You know what I mean? So over this like 5-year span, I probably met like 4 or 5 different plumbing companies. And each one of these plumbing companies, I probably met more than a handful of people, the owners, the workers, maybe staff working behind the counters, whatever, that kind of thing, right? So I probably met, just from that situation, I was probably introduced to, I don't know, it's got to be at least 30 people, right? Let's say 30 to 40 people, maybe more, who are in the plumbing industry just for my project, okay? Out of those 30, 40 people, I'll say it's 30 just to keep the numbers low for you guys. One was a woman. One of them was a woman. And she was the daughter of the dude that owned the company. Okay? She was, I don't know, arguably attractive. If she got out of the plumbing uniform and, fitted herself up, you know what I mean? She'd be like a 7 or whatever. But she knew how to lay pipe. No pun intended. She knew what she was doing. One out of all of those were a woman, okay? And again, the boss's daughter. So what does that mean? That means she was raised around it, right? He started the company probably when he had her. You know what I'm saying? She was involved in building all that up, right? So like, it's like you might find an oil rig worker, right? Shout out to Bruce Willis. Hope you're doing all right, brother. Armageddon, right? What was his daughter? She worked the oil rig, raised by roughnecks, right? Learned from the birds and the bees off, what was his name? Jeffrey Noonan's Tattoos or whatever. Yeah, yo, go watch that movie. You ain't seen Armageddon. It's amazing. The point is that women don't want these jobs. There are very few women who will do these jobs and under very certain circumstances, right? And both of those women made bread. I know that girl working for the plumbing company was making dough, cheese working for her dad. Or, it's her business, right? It's going to get handed down to her, right? The family's making money. Hopefully. I hope you guys are still doing good. Anyways, that's the point. Women don't choose these jobs. They ain't crawling through the shit.
You personally decide which social pressures you conform to and which ones you reject?
It depends on your religion, your culture, your environment, your family.
I feel like as a parent, I have teenagers, and I think that's a double-edged sword, right? There's things that we need to conform to, that everyone wants to fit in. Everyone wants to be loved. Everyone wants to be accepted. But there are things that when you have certain standards, they might not necessarily be the cool thing or the end thing for everyone else out there. And so I decide on how it makes me feel. Is it something that is going to build me up and make me a better individual if I do it? Is it something that is going to hurt somebody? If it is going to hurt somebody, I don't do it. Try to think of other people when I am choosing my choices.
Who is more likely to care what society thinks, men or women?
Women, for sure.
Who's more likely to follow trends?
Women.
Why would women care what society thinks if we're living in a world that oppresses them?
We're not living in a world that oppresses women, quite the opposite, in fact.
Women don't care. Not at this point. In 2023, where we at? 2020, women don't give a damn about stuff. We got BBLs, we got sex workers, we got everything. They're winning.
Why do people think that all men are still controlling the world just because there are a few men at the top of the food chain?
Definitely not a few. It's like up in the high fucking 90% of like CEOs and business owners and elites are all men. And they let very few women in, very few other demographics. So, I mean,
they're not keeping you out. Stop selling your ass at these fucking conventions. All right, get the damn nose rings and the shit off of your fucking face and use that $700,000 set of degrees that you got on the wall and actually put yourself to work. Get in the trenches. Dig like a man. Show up early. Leave late. Come in on weekends. Try to make yourself indisposable, right? Become the boss before they make you the boss. That's what men got to do. You can't just sit there and say, oh, it's 90% and they're keeping us out. They ain't keeping you out. You don't want to be there. You sure don't want to be there. I know women who are amazing, who got like crazy intelligence, who work hard, who bust their ass, and they make great money. They make great money. Do they want to be CEOs? The ones that are and the ones that aren't, no. Like, they work hard, but they work hard at what they do. They don't work hard at trying to be the CEO. There's a difference.
statistically proven. I wish that statement was fucking true, and then it would just be like a mindset, right? But, you know, glass ceilings.
Could it ever be possible for women to hold too much power in society?
Glass ceilings are not statistically proven. Just because you say there's a certain amount of men at the top in these positions doesn't automatically mean that you're not able to get there. There are a bunch of reasons why you're not there. And it ain't the patriarchy. I'm not keeping you from being a CEO.
Oh, absolutely. I've worked in environments where it was all female management, and it was a terrible situation because women are catty, and yeah, it would be awful.
Yeah, it's possible for anybody. I mean, like, kingdoms fall, kingdoms rise and they fall, and it's gone to show like over and over again, and this one will fall as well. Maybe the next time.
And that's how little they give a shit about our nation. This one will fall as well. It'll fall. So, you know, and it'll rise and it'll fall. And that's how little they care. This is why you're not a CEO. You can't lead with that kind of an attitude. Nobody's going to follow you. You can't, oh, kingdoms rise and kingdoms fall. Oh, well, then let me put you in charge and pay you the most. Get out of here, silly.
Time it'll be the women, and we'll be the ones to blame.
How is it possible to hold somebody accountable when they can always play the victim?
You can't. Well. I mean,
actually, it's interesting that she said that. Hold on. Let's go back to that last little statement that she just said. Hold on.
Be the ones to blame.
Go back there.
And it's gone to show like over and over again, and this one will fall as well. Maybe the next time it'll be the women, and we'll be the ones to blame.
So you think that because... So first of all, she thinks that it will fall, right? This kingdom will fall. And then she said, then the next time the women's will rise up and they'll be the ones to blame. You think that the reason why the kingdom will fall is because of the men? We're the reason why it was built in the first place, right? Like that whole part, holding all that together, creating all this thing. We all know that kingdoms fall because of weak men. We all know that. History has shown that. You can go back and you can ask. There's no other reason for that. When you weaken the male population of a kingdom, it's over.
How is it possible to hold somebody accountable when they can always play the victim?
You can't. Well. I mean, you got laws in play, you know, to a certain extent, you know.
You can't always play the victim.
And again, I just go back to this 31-year-old woman, right? Laws in place that allow her to now play the victim, whether she is the perpetrator or not. There are laws in place, and we have plenty of them, that allow her to play the victim.
Like, you still have to take responsibility for your own actions. And there's a lot of situations where it is like one person as opposed to multiple, so there's no reason for them to be victimized.
If we're all victims of society, then why should anyone be held accountable for their actions, including men?
I'm a man hater. These are not questions for me.
Why are you a man hater? A lot of women today a lot of women hate.
I wonder what happens if a man says that. I've never actually heard a man on any of these interviews. Oh, well, I hate women, so it's a bad thing to ask. I'm a woman hater, so you better not ask me. Man, y'all get away with saying whatever, and somebody will still smash your $2.99 ass later.
Hate men today, right?
Because they all cheat. They all lie. They all do you dirty, go behind your back.
No, it's just women fall in love with what they hear, and you don't know how to keep a man. And so a man's going to go and explore his options if he's got them. And he doesn't have to do any of that behind your back if he's high value enough.
Okay, what if I said that all women are gold diggers? Would that be okay?
Oh, I mean, a lot of
all women are gold diggers, and honestly, you're supposed to be. If you weren't a gold digger, you wouldn't be able to survive. Like, just straight facts. If y'all weren't gold diggers, you wouldn't survive.
them are. I can't disagree with you.
So then why is it more socially acceptable for women to hate men than it is for men to hate women?
I wouldn't say it's more socially acceptable. I would say
You just said I'm a woman hater. A man can't say that in public without being shamed.
I don't know. If men hate women, I don't give a fuck. Well, I mean,
I'm not really big on a lot of the things that are going on in the actual world today. You know, I live in my own little world, and I think that more
As most women do.
people should just worry about what they're doing and not like what everyone else is doing.
And again, this is another reason why our society is crumbling. Is because nobody really cares. All they care about is their little bubble. All they care about is what they're doing. And they want to control you. They want to make you agree and think and behave that conforms to the way they're living, as opposed to just living in their own bubbles, right? Which is how we used to do it.
And they should take accountability for things, except for me, you know, because I know everything. So.
For people who say that's just how I was raised, if someone is raised to be racist or homophobic, is that a valid excuse?
Valid excuse to be that?
Yeah.
I mean, you could be racist if you want. You could be homophobic if you want. I mean, it's your right.
You can have an excuse for anything. It doesn't make it right or wrong. Okay. Like that doesn't determine what is right or wrong. We all, society determines what's right or wrong, right? So to be racist is wrong. Okay. But if you were raised that way, does it, and to say, well, I was just raised that way, it doesn't necessarily that it makes it wrong either to say, oh, I was just raised that way. No, if you were raised that way, you were raised by some punk. You were raised by somebody who instilled terrible morals into you. And so now the time that it took to get you that way, it's going to take also time, maybe not equal, maybe more, maybe less, but also time to get you to not be that way. And if you don't have the same amount of attention put into the change that you had into the creation of it, then you're not going to change, right? That's why when, you talk to somebody who's 80-year-old and they're racist and they talking shit or whatever, there is no point in trying to argue with that person. They are old as shit. They ain't going to change their mind just because you say a couple of words. And why would you even bother? Why do you want to change the mind of somebody who's going to be dead in 10 years? Like, let them go on and be, right? And you live your life. The way that they feel and think, right, shouldn't affect you as long as, we're not talking about the influence of society. Right, which is, again, society is who deems what's right and wrong, right? Society as a whole deems what's illegal. Society as a whole deems what's acceptable and what isn't acceptable by the way that we react to situations. Oh, snap. Just moved that. I know we're almost done here. Let's go.
And stuff. I don't think it's a good thing. You got the freedom of speech, freedom of expression, but it's not a good excuse to be an a-hole,
To a certain age, before they're able to form their own opinions and educate themselves otherwise. But once
what age is that?
They're old enough to know better, then no, it's definitely not an excuse.
We're all raised different ways, right? But as you learn and you grow as an individual, once you learn that that's not okay, you have that responsibility. Ignorance is bliss, right? But
It depends on what we're talking about is not okay. Remember, as an individual, right, you have your own life. So you have the ability to pick and choose what you will and will not conform to. And just because one person says that it's not okay doesn't mean that it's not okay. If society says that it's not okay, well, then you'll have to conform to that, or you have to take responsibility for not wanting to conform and the results that may come from that, right? A lot of people have been ended off of their convictions, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they were wrong. They may have been in specific circumstances, but in general, it doesn't necessarily mean that because they paid the price, the ultimate price for their beliefs, that their belief was wrong, right? We had a lot of people, the what do you call it, the witch trials and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people believed certain things, died for those certain things, and then in the end, it ended up being true. It was, oh well, whatever, right? Like, and it is what it is, man.
You can't claim ignorance as a defense for being an idiot.
You can't claim ignorance as a defense for being an idiot. I mean, I would agree, right? In this day and age, you have no reason not to learn, not to be able to ask questions, not to be able to seek out information, not to have diversity injected into your. But when you see something that's blatant bullshit, I would recommend that you follow your conviction. I'm just saying. This is the Ill Bill. Thank you for hanging out with me on the Chill with Bill show. I'm going to talk to y'all later. Peace.